Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking the video out today. We have some really important PlayStation information to go over and discuss in this video. We have a lot to cover. If you are somebody who is at all interested in the direction that PlayStation is going in the next 12 months, but also over the course of this generation, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to a lot of what we cover here today, because this is exactly what Sony's Jim Ryan is outlining for us. And so we have some really good stuff to dive into here. So before we do that, make sure you hit the like button to help the video out and show your support. And if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. So first and foremost, I want to head over to Zubitech over on Twitter, who I think does a great job kind of compiling all of this information and keeping track of it, because it can be a bit daunting. Sony has revealed a lot, and so I kind of just wanted to highlight this specific tweet where Zubitech says Sony Interactive Entertainment PlayStation President and CEO Jim Ryan, quote, PS5 will be our biggest ever platform, end quote. And there's a couple of bullet points here, things that PlayStation is focusing on over the next year as well as the course of the generation. 1, PlayStation will keep investing in PlayStation Studios. 2, they aim to exceed PS4 lifetime sales with PS5. 3, PS5 has the highest engagement ever. And 4, they will develop more new IP for PS5. I wanted to highlight this first and foremost because, to me, this is the most important thing. Everything that's being said here and being listed is exactly what I, as a PlayStation fan and as somebody who purchased the PS5, this is what I want to continue to see Sony do. And it's just always nice to hear them kind of reaffirm that. Once again, it's not just talk. These are things they're actually putting into action and doing. We've seen that. And I just kind of want to let you know that this is what Sony's goal is, or what their goals are over the course of this generation. But something else that's incredibly interesting to me is Sony highlighted just how insanely high the demand for the PlayStation 5 is. They're calling it unprecedented demand, which I think is, yeah, that's pretty accurate. They point out a couple of things here. This is comparing November 2021 to November 2014. So essentially comparing the first year of the PS5 to the PS4, where they say 55% expressed interest in PS5, whereas at the same time with the PS4, only 28% expressed interest in the PS4. But this is where things get really interesting, in my opinion. They say here that 80,000 units, PS5 units that is, are sold every 82 minutes, compared to the PS4 during this same time, where 80,000 units were sold every 9 days. So that is nearly a rate of 1,000 PS5 units per minute versus 6 PS4 units per minute. This is absolutely insane, in my opinion. This is Sony making it clear that, yeah, while there is a chip shortage, a lot of people seem to get away from the fact that it's not just the chip shortage that's affecting the PS5 in terms of making it so hard for people to acquire one. It's the fact that the demand is way higher than it was for the PS4 or for any other PlayStation console that came before the PS5. So that's something that I wanted to highlight, because I just thought that these were some insane stats that Sony was throwing out here. But the next thing we want to talk about is something that honestly gets me really excited. Jim Ryan says that PlayStation has 2 unannounced live service games coming this fiscal year. So reading here from VGC, they say PlayStation is set to release 2 live service games during its current fiscal year, which ends in March 2023. That's according to Sony Interactive Entertainment President Jim Ryan, who said during a business briefing on Thursday that the company currently had what it considered to be 1 live service game in MLB The Show 22. A slide shared during the briefing showed that the company plans to expand the number of service games by 2 during its current fiscal year, that being fiscal year 22. Asked by an analyst if the 2 additional titles were announced or included a Destiny release from Bungie, the studio it's set to acquire, Jim Ryan said Destiny is not included in the 3 games slated for fiscal year 22. The 2 others are yet to be announced. During the briefing, Jim Ryan said Sony considered live service titles to be games with no end. Sony plans to have released 12 such titles by its 2025 fiscal year, and a slide shown during the briefing indicated with 3 arriving in fiscal year 2023, 4 in fiscal year 2024 and 2 more in fiscal year 2025. So yeah, this is a pretty big deal because we are beginning to see that Sony is now getting ready to release these live service games. And I know that a lot of people are very nervous about them, but I'm very excited about this, mainly because, I don't know, I want to be optimistic about it. I want to give Sony the benefit of the doubt, and I am excited for games like The Last of Us Online. And I think that's why I'm so excited about this news, is because to me, it's fairly obvious that one of these games that's going to be announced and, more importantly, released before March of next year is The Last of Us Online. And I'm really hopeful for it. I don't know what exactly to expect, but I kind of have my own expectations. I've talked about it quite a bit here on the channel, and I really hope that it gets close to meeting those expectations. If it does get close to meeting that, I'm going to be very happy. And when it comes to the second unannounced title, I was speculating and I was thinking maybe it's Guerrilla Games, their second title. We've been talking about that for a long time as well. A lot of people are hoping it's going to be maybe SOCOM, and I want it to be that. I mean, that would be incredible. I can't even imagine how exciting it would be to get both The Last of Us Online and SOCOM in such a short period of time. But when I thought about it a little bit more, I began to realize that it's more likely going to be Helldivers 2. This is a game that was leaked out with the big, infamous NVIDIA leak, and that's going to likely be a game as a service, but it might not be. It could still be the Guerrilla Games title, but, nonetheless, Sony has big plans for these types of games in the coming years, and so, yeah, I wanted to be sure to share this with you. There's a really good chance that if these two games are going to be launching this soon, we're going to be learning about them very soon, because there's no doubt that Sony's going to want to market them. So let me know your thoughts about that. Next up, we have Jim Ryan once again reiterating that they are not done their acquisition spree. In fact, he says they're not at all finished. Here's what Jim Ryan had to say during the business briefing session. We've been extremely active in the area of M&A and investment. The purpose of these investments is to increase our core strength at PlayStation Studios, but also to acquire expertise in areas of game development where historically we have not had a significant presence. The planned Bungie partnership is a great example of the latter. In terms of future M&A activity, the answer to that is that we are not at all finished with our strategy of trying to grow PlayStation Studios inorganically. As we transition from our historic game development strategy to a much broader and much wider market reach than we enjoy today, it is very likely that inorganic stimulus will be required to help us to realize those dreams, and to that extent, that potential target fits with our strategy to the extent that potential targets allow us to accelerate the way in which we will be able to deliver on our strategy. We will certainly consider further M&A activity to add to our business portfolio. So there you go. You can see that things are being done differently now at PlayStation. It was all about talking about the organic growth and whatnot, and that's still there. I don't want to make it sound like that isn't a big part of PlayStation. It absolutely is, but now more than ever, especially because of the industry consolidation, but also, as you can hear what Jim Ryan is saying, because of their wider and broader ambitions, it's going to be necessary to make some, inorganic acquisitions and mergers and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that if you were wondering if Sony's going to kind of slow down in that area, according to Jim Ryan, not at all. So something else we want to discuss here is Sony and their viewpoint on PC and what they plan to do with PC. Says here, the president of Sony's PlayStation business has said the company expects half of its annual releases to be on PC and mobile by 2025. Speaking during a business briefing on Thursday, Jim Ryan said that expanding to the larger platforms, and in particular committing to releasing at least 12 live service games in the coming years, could be transformational to our business. PlayStation Studios historically has executed wonderfully in the delivery of a strong portfolio of narrative-rich, graphically beautiful single-player games, but it's certainly the case that we have restricted ourselves to a rather narrow portion of the gaming market, Ryan said. By expanding to PC and mobile, and it must be said also to live services, we have the opportunity to move from a situation of being present in a very narrow segment of the overall gaming software market to being present pretty much everywhere. He He continued, I think if we do this right, if we execute with intelligence and we execute with excellence, the opportunities for significant growth in the number of people who play our games, the number of people who enjoy our games, and the number of people who spend money on our games is exponentially a large one. I would say, for example, if we are successful in making a portion of the 12 live service games that we have in development in PlayStation Studios, if only a portion of those enjoy critical and commercial success, then the impact of that over time will be completely transformational to our business structure. So based off of the way Jim Ryan is once again highlighting live service titles while talking about releasing half of their titles by 2025 onto PC, this tells me that pretty much every live service game that Sony makes, which will be about 12 games by that point, as long as everything goes according to plan, will release on PC. And it wouldn't surprise me if almost all of them were day and date on PC, because they're live service titles. It makes sense for Sony to do this. Also wouldn't surprise me if, I don't want to say all 12 live service titles are going to be free to play, but definitely most of them will, I think, be free to play. But with this being said, Sony is going to continue to port some of their biggest games onto PC or over to PC. I have no doubt about this. Again, we've talked about this at length before. Sony sees PC as a viable platform where they can make pretty good money. Now, you know, people always bring up day and date and stuff like that. It's anybody's guess if that's what Sony's long-term goal is. But what I will say is they are becoming more and more comfortable with PC. But what I will say on top of that is that Sony still cares a lot about the PS5 and the PlayStation console in general, and they still, I think, see a great importance in prioritizing certain releases, you know, being just exclusive to that console. Maybe not permanently, like not forever or indefinitely, but at least for a very good chunk of time, to make it feel like if you are somebody who's interested in the PlayStation console, it's definitely going to be worth getting one. You know, like I don't expect game like God of War Ragnarok to necessarily go to PC anytime soon. Could I see it eventually hitting PC? Yeah, but not necessarily anytime soon. Same thing with something like Spider-Man or eventually Wolverine and some other big titles. I think that the ones that will benefit the PlayStation console the most by remaining exclusive for as long as they can, they're going to remain exclusive. But I think titles like live service and what we're about to talk about now, like Returnal, because apparently Returnal is going to be releasing on Steam based off of a new listing, that's a game that makes sense. You know, there are maybe a few people who are going to be upset, feeling like, why is it already going to PC? But I don't look at Returnal as like a long-term system seller. I don't think many people do. I think that it kind of reached its max sales potential. And so I think most people, I don't want to speak for everybody, but most people are going to be totally fine with this. But yeah, SteamDB logged the presence of a new product in the database, which goes by the codename Oregon. The title is listed with tags such as roguelike, sci-fi, but the clearest indication is that it's related to Housemarque, or a Housemarque title that references to the Tower of Sisyphus and Atropos, which are featured in Returnal. So, I mean, look, it's pretty clear that that Returnal is going to PC, and so, you know, that to me is interesting. I feel like I talked about this. I'm not saying I called it per se, but I remember maybe like 6 months ago on one of my podcast episodes, I said, you know, looking at the way that Sony is embracing PC, the way they're talking about it, I wouldn't be surprised if a game like Returnal sometime this year ends up going to PC. And, you know, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if Demon's Souls is next in line. And, you know, maybe like another year from now or something like that, I could even see a game like possibly Horizon Forbidden West, depending on what Sony wants to do. And I know, again, like to some PlayStation players, that sounds crazy, but this is just something that Sony's doing. And regardless of how you feel about it, you know, this is the business strategy that they're executing. And I think most people are okay with it. I honestly feel that at this point in time, it's better to just kind of embrace it and be like, you know what? Hey, more people are going to be able to play Returnal. People were very happy when God of War 2018 went to PC, and that seemingly did not negatively impact PlayStation console sales at all. So yeah, we'll have to continue to follow this and see how Sony's plans evolve with PC over time. But next up, we have some very exciting news for anybody who is excited about PlayStation VR2. Apparently, Sony has confirmed they're going to have over 20 launch games. Sony has said it will have over more than 20 games ready for the launch of PSVR2. The launch will cover both first-party and third-party titles. This is what they said during their business meeting. Right now, there is a considerable amount of money being spent on partnerships with independent and other third-party developers to secure a considerable pipeline of attractive VR content at the launch of PSVR2. This is what Jim Ryan said. The energy, that effort, and that money will continue to grow as the installed base of PSVR2 headsets grows also. So, yeah, I mean, guys, it's seeming pretty clear at this point that something is about to happen. I don't know how Sony could be sitting on 20 launch games for PSVR2 and not be ready, or not be getting ready right now to start showing some of these games off. Even if this headset does get pushed to early 2023, still, these games are going to need some leeway. They're going to need some, time to really make themselves known and get people excited. So yeah, guys, that is a lot of titles, and I'm really interested to see what some of them are going to be. The final piece of information here, and I think that this is possibly the most important in general. I guess you could maybe even say saving the best for last, because as a PlayStation fan, as somebody who is a fan of PlayStation Studios, and I've been playing on this platform for, years, to me, this is what matters most. PlayStation reveals plan to split investment 50-50 right down the middle between existing and new IP. And so this was again revealed during their business meeting, where it says in its fiscal year ended March 2020, PlayStation Studios invested 23% of its development budget to new IP and 77% in existing franchises. During its current fiscal year, that being fiscal year 22, 34% is being invested in new IP and 66% in established properties. Speaking on Thursday, SIE CEO Jim Ryan said that by fiscal year 25, the company planned the split to be 50-50. New IP is the lifeblood of all entertainment, and SIE is significantly increasing the amount that it is spending in this space. From less than a quarter of the total spending in fiscal year 2019, we will augment the proportion invested to 50% of a much larger number by fiscal year 25, investment that we anticipate will yield significant returns in the second half of this decade. And so there we have it. We have PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan letting us know that by the time we reach fiscal year 2025, Sony's planning to invest half of the money that they put into games into new IP. This is absolutely huge. And honestly, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, we're talking about a platform where just last year, there were these slanderous reports coming out that all PlayStation cares about are the big franchises, the big names that are already known and established, and they don't care enough about new IP, so on and so forth, which I honestly at the time thought was absolutely ridiculous, considering how well Sony did with new AAA IP and just new IP all around during the course of the PS4 generation. They're still bringing out new IP this generation like they already have been, but now they're out here telling their investors and telling everybody that, yeah, we're planning to make that like a 50-50 split by fiscal year 25. And that is awesome. That means each year going forward, Sony's going to continue to invest more and more into new IP. And this is something that I know for a fact, not just PlayStation fans, but gamers in general, this is what we want. We love our sequels. We love to see, these games kind of built upon, and we love to see the return of dormant IP as well. That's a big part of what Sony's also doing. But new IP, one thing I do agree with what Jim Ryan's saying here, absolutely, it is the lifeblood in pretty much any entertainment industry, and gaming is obviously not excluded from that. So there you go, guys. This is, in my opinion, all of the relevant and important information that you need to know about Sony's recent business meeting. This was a pretty significant one where they are revealing some very interesting things, and the general takeaway that I get from this, and I know that not everybody may agree with this, but this is honestly just how I'm left feeling after kind of wading through all this information. I think PlayStation is about to kind of pop off here. Like, I feel like big things happened in 2020 with the launch of the PS5. 2021 was good, but it was also a little bit quiet. And so far in 2022, Sony's done a great job delivering games, but people still kind of generally feel they've been relatively quiet. But based off of everything I'm going over here, it seems pretty clear that Sony is sitting on a lot of stuff right now, man. Like, they have some huge plans and some huge, absolutely massive ambitions for the course of this generation and beyond. And so I know it sounds maybe a little bit cliche to say this right now, but clearly the best is yet to come. Like, it really is. For as good as things have already been on PlayStation, and even with the start of the PS5 generation, it's about to get crazy, and in a good way. And I am very excited. So there you go. Be sure to leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll be interested to see what you had to say. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.